still. But first, Cooper Kupp. Stan put out a video. I don't know if that was Thursday, Wednesday, when that was, but he discussed which teams he thought were best for Cooper Kupp, which teams the Rams should look at trading him to. And interestingly enough, he specifically said he didn't think the Steelers would be a good fit for. That was a team he said by name. Now, Chus, you have been saying we need Cooper Kupp. We want Cooper Kupp in Pittsburgh. So, fight. Give me a reason. Go.
Well, I don't really
Rumble style.
I was gonna say there really isn't like a debate style. I feel like to it. I feel like the idea that Stan is saying is that he doesn't think that Cooper Kupp's a good fit for Pittsburgh, and that may be true. However, I just want him in Pittsburgh because we need a wide receiver, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers try to go for him because they need a wide receiver. I mean, we have George Pickens, yes, but if you draft a wide receiver, you're going to deal with not so mature veteran George Pickens dealing with a rookie at wide receiver number 2. I think you need some sort of veteran presence in there. And so getting Cooper Kupp, I think, would help. And a lot of the mock drafts are having the Steelers draft wide receivers in the first round, which honestly, I'm not terribly upset by. But at that point, if you were to get Cooper Kupp and then 2 wide receivers being George Pickens and then whoever you end up drafting being a wide receiver as well in the first round, I think it would be beneficial to, like I said, have that veteran presence because you'll have 3. Or you want to trade George Pickens away or keep both Pickens and Cooper Kupp, that would be fine too. The reason I'm so adamant about Cooper Kupp for the Steelers, and maybe Stan, you have somebody better in mind for us, is I just don't think there's a lot of wide receivers that we could probably go for that would probably make sense, that either are on the trading block or that are considering to be moved. Because, for example, we can't. I know T. Higgins' contract is coming up here, but I don't think the Steelers are going to be able to make any type of move with him because he came from Cincinnati. And maybe when he hits free agent market sometime, then maybe. But even then, it's does T. Higgins make sense in Pittsburgh? I don't know. But I just feel like Cooper Kupp with his veteran presence would probably make sense if they're really as set on keeping George Pickens as that wide receiver 1 that they were talking about before this season started. Because they said that when George Pickens' contract was coming up, they said that George Pickens would be looked at as a big asset to the team. So granted, I don't think he's going to stay here regardless of what they offer him, but maybe Kupp can help him.
Yeah, and to start off, I don't think any of us would disagree with the idea that the Steelers are not really in a Super Bowl window right now. So one thing I was looking at with Kupp is I was looking at teams where he can, one, they could fit him onto the roster, but he wouldn't be their number 1 option, and he can make some sort of deep playoff run because he still is that caliber player. The reason I don't want him as a number 1 option or the only, one of a number 1 type option on the team is because he's likely to get injured. He'll probably have 1 or 2 injuries, right, at that age, and because of his player profile, he will most likely get injured at some point. For the Steelers, he would be their number 1 option, in my opinion. And once he gets injured, what are you going to do to fix that offense? So I think for the Steelers, I would rather go with 2 or 3 younger players. And in terms of free agency, there's not really any great fits, at least off the top of my head, but just building up through the draft for this team. And as we've talked about towards the end of last season, the Steelers, I think you would agree with this, need to look into rebuilding. They have to look towards the future. At one point, you were saying, forget about the playoffs. Who cares about making the playoffs? Let's try to rebuild this team. So to me, Cooper Kupp is an option to get you guys to go to the playoffs again, but I don't think he adds anything in terms of making a real Super Bowl run, at least when you don't have a quarterback.
See, and that's something I would agree on because I don't care about making playoffs, and I even said that. But the way that the Steelers like to operate is they like to make playoffs anyway. So I figured if they're just going to keep trying to push for playoffs every single year and then try to trade for Matt Stafford, you might, because apparently we're really high linked in betting odds for Matt Stafford now too, because we're not re-signing Russell Wilson. Theoretically, rumors speculating this. I figured then why not Cooper Kupp? I think, and I agree with the statement, and I think that it kind of opens up the idea that, yeah, I think we should probably get a couple younger guys in there. I know Pickens isn't probably going to stick around. You know what? Dump him to the Raiders. Dump him, get a second-round pick. Have the Raiders deal with him. Have somebody else deal with him, and then just draft somebody else. And get some younger guys in there because the wide receiver core that we have right now is just really not not that solid regardless. So I figured if the Steelers were going to try to continue their playoff push of trying to make playoffs every single year or getting that 9-8 record that they really like to get with Mike Tomlin, then I figured, well, assuming that we have Justin Fields, you could probably have Justin Fields throwing to Cooper Kupp and George Pickens, and you'd probably finish with a 9-8 record, even if Cooper Kupp misses 5 weeks or so. And if you have like a somebody that you can actually rely on as a wide receiver 3, it might be helpful for the wide receiver core. I don't think it'll help. I mean, there's a lot of players that I think that there should be a lot of moves going on with the Steelers coming up this offseason, but it remains to be seen what they're actually going to do because I don't know. I don't trust the Steelers right now.
I actually didn't see those Stafford links. That opens up a lot to me because, in my opinion, the Steelers are like 3 pieces on offense away from being able to make a run. Their defense is stellar, and even as those guys age out, you still have some young guys who can fill in. So you have that great defense. You've had a great defensive identity, even in the years where your defense has been, on a down year. Mike Tomlin has really been able to keep that side of the ball at least looking fresh year in, year out. So if I'm looking at the Steelers and you do get a Stafford or a Darnold, Cooper Kupp, I think has a lot of value in bringing you guys some amount of a push to a Super Bowl or at least a deep playoff push.
Right. And the thing is like, I want to, before anybody like starts yelling at me and stuff like that, the Matt Stafford thing isn't as like apparent as like a Cooper Kupp right now, where they're like openly talking about it. But Matt Stafford has been reportedly frustrated with the idea of Cooper Kupp being moved and has been open to the idea of being traded, which puts Pittsburgh, because of the Russell Wilson beef that's going on with Arthur Smith and stuff like that. The idea that he's not going to get re-signed makes the Steelers a strong link once again to Matt Stafford, especially if Justin Fields hits the open market, because they really haven't talked about Justin Fields all that much. So there's a chance we just don't have either quarterback, which would be kind of insane to me, that you don't have, you're just kind of hoping for the best in free agency. But yeah, I mean, it definitely could help us if one of them came here, like you said, a Darnold or Matt Stafford or something like that, and having Cooper Kupp on there. But right now it's just kind of like all uncertainty. And I do like Cooper Kupp. I like his play style. I always have. The injuries have always been kind of a scare for me. And the reason, as I mentioned, that I'd push for it is just because I know that they like to make playoffs. I still, as you mentioned, would rather tank for a couple seasons and get some like Jaden Daniels type players, and hopefully rebuild from the bottom up, because I don't think, unless you really are selling, unless you're really selling the idea of the defense, which I think they are, because they're trying to get TJ Watt that ring. I mean, I think you do have to fill up those pieces then at that point. And I think that Kupp could definitely help, but obviously I'm still worried about that age and the injury factor to it as well, especially if some of these wide receivers don't hit the market.
Let's say you get Kupp and you get either Darnold or Stafford. What's your ceiling?
Well, who's our running back?
Yeah, I was about to say Najee might not even be there next year.
Because I think the one thing that I've kind of noticed over the last couple of years is, also my dog is like going ferocious. There must be a delivery going on. I think the thing is when it comes, the thing I've noticed over the last couple of years, and like Kansas City aside, running backs are like a big key part of the offense nowadays in teams. And I feel like if you have a running back, it changes your entire offensive production. And we've seen that with the Eagles. This Eagles team, with just adding somebody with the talent and the skill set of Saquon Barkley, this team looks like a literal powerhouse going into the Super Bowl this Sunday, compared to 2 years ago, where it was like, okay, yeah, this Eagles team is good, but like they lack that running back capacity. And the reason that I bring up the running back thing is Najee Harris, despite having multiple 1,000-yard seasons, is like averaging like 4 yards a carry. And if you watch the games, everyone kind of agrees that it's kind of been an underwhelming 1,000-yard season, just because like they pitch it to him. He'll try to do like he'll try to do a wheel route. He'll get, hit -2 yards. We need a running back that's consistently going to get us like 4 or 5 yards up the midfield, or like, even if you get stuffed, you're going to get those 6 or 7 yards back in the next drive or in the next, set of downs. And if you have somebody like Najee in the backfield, or you have somebody like, no offense to Jalen Warren, I think he's a great wide receiver too, but if you have him as a wide receiver, or not a wide receiver, if you have him as a running back 1, rather than a running back 2, I don't know if he would even be able to get those yards, because eventually, I mean, he's elusive and he has like that kind of like smaller Eckler style to him, where he can do it all. I just don't know if it would be enough. So it would kind of depend on what we would have as a running back. But if we had a decent running back, I would probably hopefully put us at 11-6. 11-6 would be nice. 12-5 would also be kind of nice, especially if our defense stays healthy. I mean, the one thing about the defense is that's been similar over the last couple of years that I haven't seen really change much with Arthur Smith is trying to keep the defense off the field. It looked like they were trying to do that at the beginning of the season by like running these like dumb plays. Oh, it's 3rd and goal. And, we should try to score a touchdown, but let's run a halfback dive with Cordell Patterson for -1 yards. Why did we do that? Oh, just to run the clock even more, set up this 30 or this 28-yard field goal against Atlanta. Just keep the defense off the field, because the defense has been consistently on the field for a lot of these past years with like the Kenny Pickett era and all of these different things. And it's been a struggle for the defense. It's been straining them. And if you keep the defense healthy, this defense can actually live up to that top 5 defense that they or this supposed top 5 defense that they are. So if you have an offense that can just run the ball, you have somebody like a Saquon Barkley, or even somebody that's a little worse than Saquon Barkley. Cause I mean, Saquon's in a league of his own. If you have somebody that can just run up the field and, and get you a couple first downs on his own, like that's very helpful. And we don't have that in Pittsburgh, in my opinion. So it really depends.
I also want to mention, if you bring in Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp, they're both coming from the LA Rams, both coming from a Sean McVay style offense, obviously. And Cooper Kupp has only known that offense. With Matt Stafford, you can say, okay, he was with the Lions. He's known all different types of offense. But Cooper Kupp has really only played in a Sean McVay offense.
Right.
And Sean McVay offenses, not necessarily as heavily as some teams, but they definitely utilize the running back. If you go back to some of their most successful seasons, the 2021 Super Bowl, obviously, was probably their most successful season. Their running backs at the time were Darrell Henderson Jr. and Sony Michel. Darrell Henderson Jr. had 688 yards. Sony Michel had 845 yards.
Good split.
Henderson, that was a career high for him. Sony Michel, that was his 3rd highest, but that was his highest since 2019. So his 2nd year in the league. So obviously that's a key part to a Sean McVay offense. And the reason I bring that up, and you see it now with Kyren Williams. They use Kyren Williams a lot.
Right.
Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp have both grown used to, presumably, playing in offenses where they can rely on that key running back, where they don't. Matthew Stafford doesn't have to do everything. Cooper Kupp doesn't have to do everything. What?
So basically, I was going to add on to that. So one of the reasons, and we'll kind of get into it, but one of the reasons why Russell Wilson and Arthur Smith were kind of beefing was because Arthur Smith is a very run-first type of offense, and we've kind of seen that with Tennessee and whatnot. So to like add to your point of getting like a Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp, I'm like I said, I don't expect Matt Stafford to be in Pittsburgh. I mean, if he does, I mean that's crazy. But if he did, the idea would still, in my opinion, reign that like I think Arthur Smith would probably still do more of a run-heavy offense despite having Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp, which would probably benefit Matt Stafford if he is used to like having the run-heavy teams. I mean, because you can't, despite Najee Harris having a 1,000-yard season, it was very underwhelming with like averaging like a 3.9 yards a carry. I mean, it might be higher than that, but it was definitely very low. But if you have somebody that is a better running back, like I said, it could help. But obviously, if he's getting over 1,000 yards this season, despite the production load that the running backs have had, then obviously it's a very run heavy offense on Arthur Smith's part. So I don't think that would be much of an issue over here if Matt Stafford came here. I don't think it would be. I don't think he would, just because it would just seem very odd to get Cooper Kupp from the Rams and then Matt Stafford also from the Rams. It would just seem, because you would have to trade for both. I just don't see it happening that way, because you'd have to give up a lot of assets for them. And I think the Steelers getting both is just very unlikely, unless it's like a big package deal where it's like Stafford and Kupp and like a pick for this player, and maybe this pick, or 2 players and a pick, or whatever the value of both of them are to a player. So I don't know, but I wouldn't worry too much about the running backs. I think it would be great if we actually had a consistent running back, though. I don't know. I just think it would be pretty fun.
I just think you need balance if you're the Steelers.
I agree. I think we need a lot of things more than just balance. I think we need a whole lot of everything. But
I mean, if you gave me 1,000 carries, I'd probably get hurt eventually, but I could get 1 yard, maybe, probably, possibly. I don't know, maybe not, but you know what I'm saying? Like, if you give
Right.
someone enough carries in the NFL, they're gonna hit that 1,000-yard mark.
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't think Najee's explosive, and I think that's really what the Steelers need. Stan, did you have any more thoughts before we head on over to Chus again to talk about? He alluded to it, but Russell Wilson's fighting with Arthur Smith.
Hey, not much more different, but I will say if your guy is going to be in the draft this year, his name is Kyle Monangai. He's going to do it for you guys.
I hope you're right, man. If we end up getting him, but right now, like a lot of where is he? Where is he projected? What round? Is he a first?
No, he's I don't know where he is right now, but he's going to be late. He's going to be like a 4th or 5th, I think.
Well, that'd be great because right now, most of the projections just have like first round. So, and a lot of them are having like receiver, but it'd be nice.